Oh, yeah.
I don't even know what I was focused on.
No, I have to.
Okay, so now I finally get to come and say hello.
You ready to go? So welcome. We're going to get started. Welcome and thank you for coming. My name is Greg. I'm an instructor with EdTechTeacher.
I'm Shawn. I'm also an instructor for EdTechTeacher.
So Shawn and I go back to like the early 2000s when I was teaching in Plymouth and Shawn was teaching in Chicago, and we got our kids, we got connected over Twitter with social studies chat, and then we had our kids do like a live Skype debate, and we did like collaborative blogging with Posterists way back then, and now we're like really good friends. We play video games together at night, which we talked about on our podcast.
Yeah, we actually share in a virtual combat zone.
Yeah, so, and now Shawn works with EdTechTeacher, which is awesome. So what we're going to try to pull off is like do a recording of our podcast live in front of all of you guys, which I think will just be a lot of fun to like watch the process. The process we're using today is drastically different than what we normally do. Normally, because I'm in north of Boston and Shawn is outside of Chicago, we do like a video call. And then when we're done with the video call, we save the MP4, we pull out an MP3 out of that, we do all the editing, and then we publish that. What we're going to do today is a little bit different because we're going to record it live. We'll show you how we're going to execute doing it live, and then what I've done as well is like, I think we're up to like episode 15. We have about 7 or 8 clips we've pulled out of various episodes, and I've dropped them onto a soundboard app. Has anyone ever used anything like this before? So there's an app on my iPad where like I pulled like a clip of Douglas talking about coding, and I sent it to the soundboard app. So when I want like Douglas in our show today, I'll just tap Douglas and it will play his audio. So it's like almost like you're in a little radio studio, and you can like pick and choose little excerpts you want that we have at the start of the show. I'll tap bumper to the show. So I'll show.
That's the kind of
yeah. So but. We're going to like a little bit of the do the show, and I'll do the uploading questions. I think we didn't have a come up, but if you want it, like come on up and be in the show, and we'll ask you a question, and you can record with us. Is everybody in the right spot? Like, do you want to be here for this?
Okay.
It's like total vanity.
You asked for this. You chose
like
that.
Complete indulgence, and somehow it got through, and Tom didn't say no, so like we get to do a live recording right now, which is super fun. We're also go ahead.
Like this whole thing came about when at the time I was still working at my school full time. I was in the process of like transitioning, and we just started talking about what the world should be and what kind of work we should be doing. And we just talked about like reaching out to people. I just want to have a forum and have conversations with people. I want to talk to people who interest me. Really, here's how we pick who's on the show. They in any way inspire some process of thinking that I just want to get into and talk about, right? For me, that is, I want to talk to every student I've ever had who's ever gone into the workforce and ask what it's like to be in the workforce today. How did we under-prepare you? Where did we like get it wrong, right? And have a conversation about that. We've talked to developers of tools. I met a person, we had people on the show who criticized some things, and I wanted a counterpoint. So I'll just go out and get a different story. So that excitement of like, what balances the scales? What can we have? It's really whatever you choose. And I think our kids can be in that space, right? It's such a creative space to make and share ideas. So that's kind of what started all this. We mentioned it. Greg said he was into sound. I'm like, let's do it. And within a week, we had microphones and we were recording. So.
Ready to go. So this. Oh, and we're both streaming live on Instagram?
Yep.
To capture the story as well, so why not push it out in lots of forms of media? We never do this. We actually planned out the show with like, Shawn's going to say this, Greg is going to say this, like here's the audio clip we're playing. That is never our process. I don't write interview questions. I do very little background research on the people that are on the show, like I know of them, and then I can pretend like I know what they've worked on. But so like we normally don't do any prepping. We do very minimal editing. We do basic editing to like equalize sound levels in GarageBand, but like we don't use a mixer. We do this stuff with Zoom, and we'll show you how that process we use later. This is a little bit different. So here's what we've done. We've kind of mapped out what the show is going to be like. Like, hey, we're going to play the bumper. I'll intro the show, Shawn's going to talk about this and that, and then we'll get into like all the black is like the stuff that I want to talk about, and the clip that I'm going to play of Douglas and how that transitions into Shawn. So this is way more planning than we normally do.
Like 1,000% more planning.
Yeah. Because the whole point, like we almost wanted to like prove the point that it doesn't have to be perfect. We don't have to have tremendous amounts of like planning. You can record with minimal technology. I don't even own a microphone like this. I use my old Apple headphones, and like that works totally fine. I'm going in to show you what it looks like. Like this is the organization that we have in here of like every episode. If we go into an episode, like here's the one where we interviewed Audrey. We'll do like, here's an excerpt, there's the raw audio, there's a video that I made, there's her image, another little clip, and then the whole edited podcast. So everything's in one spot, but that's like the most complex stuff we do.
I can convert all that audio, the clips, all the images, promotional materials. Now, at first it took a little while, I could have all of that done and the editing process in a matter of like an hour or two after doing it. So we had to make it streamlined to know what time limits we have for it. We kind of built it around what we have available to invest.
Right. In terms of like promo content, this is a really cool thing called Wave, which I came across. It's basically making like little audio cards. There's always awesome quote by Shawn Greg. And so like we took an audio clip from the show that I excerpted from GarageBand, and then use this free web tool where you take a graphic you made, you drop audio on top of it, and it brings it to life with that little wave file. So it's a cool way to give people a teaser into what your show is about. And then it's just like really cool media to make. This is the app that we're going to use, and I'll show you the app live right now. It's called Soundboard Lite. And Soundboard Lite, and I'll plug in the actual app, what it basically lets you do is take audio files from like Dropbox, Google Drive, whatever cloud storage you use. You open in Soundboard Lite, which is running right here, and then I can do this, for example, like here's Will Richardson.
I don't think anybody disagrees.
Right, so there's Will's quote queued up, ready to go, so I can pretend like Will is here with us and like play his little segment and come back live to the show. This all making sense so far? Yeah? Let me show you what this looks like, and then we're just going to get right into it. You guys can hang out. We've never had a live audience before. This is super exciting stuff.
We've only been in the same room once.
Yeah.
Well, we've done this.
Yeah.
So,
The first time we met.
Here we go. This is what Soundboard looks like, right? And so all I did with Soundboard was go Google Drive, say, let's do another 80 clip. So there's 80s stuff right there, 80 excerpt.
Like making a haiku.
So if that's 80s excerpt that I want in the Soundboard app, I would just do open in. It'll process. I pick the platform I want to send it to. I would send it to Soundboard, and then it pops up as a little like clickable audio file that I can use anytime I want to. Making sense? Yes?
So we've been thinking.
Everybody ready to go? You have a plan?
So we've been thinking.
So we've been thinking. Podcast.
So in our first ever live recording of the So We've Been Thinking podcast, what we thought we would do is capture our process live, dig into the first series of our podcast, grab some clips from really interesting interviewees that we've had, and try to pull this all together to tell one cohesive story, and then just hang out and have a good time at the end of the first day of the EdTechTeacher Summit to see if we can capture a story and pull together everything we've been experiencing up to this point. So Shawn, would you mind starting out and just getting into like how this came to be and the background of the whole podcast?
we were just having a casual conversation, talking about the things that we were passionate about, and talking about how we really wanted a chance to share like our process of developing ideas. Like too often we're concerned about having a finished thought that we share and out to the world. But I think there's a lot of value for us and our students to share unfinished, unstructured, where you come to terms with information that you're sharing. So this was our chance to interact with people who we appreciated, who we thought were doing good intellectual work, and like discuss the process of developing our ideas and arriving at our understandings.
Right, and one of the things that I was really interested in was finally cracking into the world of audio. And I talked about this earlier today in a podcasting session, but like while I used to listen to podcasts, like did anyone listen to season 1 when it came out. Like, that got me back into it. I think prior to that, it was Radio Lab. Does anyone listen to Radio Lab out of WNYC? This was the podcast that got me like super into podcasting and consuming. Serial hooked me a little bit. And then it wasn't until the Anchor as a platform kind of emerged and I became aware of Anchor that I was willing to go, now we can actually do it. Like, no more hosting on Podbean and getting a link and pushing it here. Like, the whole process has been simplified. So that's why I wanted to do it. The other thing that I was really interested in was just the idea of audio. So, and I talked about this earlier again, Bluetooth, being able to listen to your car, getting any podcast you want on any device, downloading, and it's just a different environment and a different medium. And I wanted to take advantage of this medium to tell stories in a way that we couldn't through text or couldn't through video. And honestly, I don't enjoy the editing process all that much, and I wanted to see if we could pull this off with minimal editing involved.
So what we're going to do today is take a look back on some of our episodes, some quotes, some clips that we picked out as like really inspiring, insightful, sometimes challenging. Look back on those and what we've learned and kind of the themes that emerged in our first 14, this will be the 15th episode of the So We Were Thinking podcast. It started off as like a simple, like we knew nothing about the process of producing it other than a couple of tools, and we just agreed that we're not going to try to become experts. We're going to just do this and gain our skills as we go. Right?
Yeah, we absolutely wanted to embrace the idea of put like almost that perfection was going to be our worst enemy, and it was put the idea out there regardless of audio quality. I've lost an entire episode because of audio quality. Shawn basically lost an entire episode because of audio quality, but we learned along the way. Like, it's been awesome to go back and basically be a student and learn how to do all this stuff from scratch with very little guidance.
And can I add the fact that I have no idea, I've never done sound editing before I did this. I love the sound editing process. I enjoy like diving into it, listening and understanding the way that it works and learning the tools that go with it. So it's funny the things that I had no idea. I find it absolutely cathartic to sit there, cut and piece things together and think about what's essential and what's not as I go through the
I do it on airplanes because if you think about it, if it's a 45-minute show, you record the show, you have to listen back to the entire 45-minute show, cut all the little clips you need to out of the 45-minute show. So it's either 2 to 3 times the length of the show, at least for me to get through the editing process. Something to be aware. So you're going to talk about one of our first guests.
Let's absolutely do that.
So I'm going to get into a colleague of mine, an EdTechTeacher. He's a computer science teacher at the Punahou School in Hawaii. His name is Douglas Keon. I wanted to talk to Douglas very early on. I think he was the second guest on the show after Michael Cohen. And Douglas is a huge computer science guy, teaches computer science. And computer science as a concept can be super overwhelming to me. I'm a history teacher. I don't have a background in this stuff. And I thought Douglas summed it up really eloquently with this idea.
And so really at its core, when I think about computer science and programming, what we're really doing is we're really trying to teach kids how to learn.
So this idea really resonated with me because it made me get over the hump of like computer science isn't really about coding. Computer science isn't about learning specific programs. It's giving kids the capacity to learn and unlearn and solve problems on their own. I was really overwhelmed by this concept leading into it. But he almost like demystified it, and it was like, and then he even pointed out the fact that if you learn whatever language today, it may become irrelevant, or it could become a component of many languages you're going to have to learn along the way. So it's not really that critical that you're a master of anything that you're doing in this world of computer science.
But I feel like we want kids to understand languages. If you can teach a kid an additional language when they're young, and I'm not talking about coding language, I'm talking about like human language, they will have access to other languages as they go, layering multiple languages on top of a few. But I think coding works the exact same way, and my understanding of coding as a language helped me to get past the idea that like there's tools out there that can tell a story in coding. And a kid who's gifted in math, using those in a social studies class to tell a story, that makes perfect sense to me now, whereas before I'd be like, why would you have this social stuff? Because it gives access to someone who can speak that language into the art or the content you're trying to teach. And that was really helpful. And that's what I got in the session.
It even opened up the idea. I worked with another teacher from Douglas' school, and we were crafting questions around a PBL unit in coding. And the question we developed was, like, how might students beautify the world with code? And that would not be something I would typically dive into, because that's not the way, a lens in which I would go through that world. And Douglas kind of like unlocked the capacity of this world. Douglas's idea of really the purpose being for kids to teach and reteach and learn on their own, it transitions nicely with an interview that Shawn did with Martin Moran. Do you want to jump right into Martin's side?
Absolutely, let's go. So why don't you, well, Martin Moran is a teacher who's in Chicago. We've interacted with him several times before. I watched him do a presentation. He had the beautiful ability to get people up and moving and writing and doing. And like you can see that this wasn't something that he had to transition to. This was just the way he saw instructing people. And I thought, if he's doing this with adults, I'm sure that his class is similar. And he's been given the opportunity to create a brand new school. So he's going to create a new school in Chicago, and that school is going to reconstruct education with the core values of student engagement, choice, and there's so many things that he said. One of the things that he said was that it's time for institutions to stop bending the child to the school and start bending the school to the child. And I'm going to do a presentation next year about bending to the child. Like, I love that idea. It's like a virus inside my head right now, and I start applying it to everything. So I think that there's other things that he said that were really important too.
So let's hear from Mark.
You're not giving up anything to take a more progressive or more innovative approach. You're getting more opportunities to do other things.
So the question I asked him to that part of that quote was, how are you talking to these parents who, because of this possession of the grammar of schools, that schools are supposed to take place in a way, and you're trying to bring in something new, and something has to go. And his basic approach to that was like, you're not losing anything to have education look differently. You're not taking a loss. You're just granting so much of the possibility of trying something new is exciting. And so Martin's discussion of how he was going to explain this to the teachers coming into this new space really had me thinking, like, if they're bringing them to this school and they buy into the idea that we can change our education, think how much license you have to explore what learning could be.
So now we're on Amy.
Now we're on Amy.
Has anyone ever seen the work, Amy Burwell's work? Like the history teachers videos from many years ago. I remember as a history teacher watching Amy's work and watching her TED Talk and being in awe.
Millions of views.
Yeah, being in awe of the creative work she was doing. And
perhaps a nice transition here is that Martin wants to remix what schools could be, envision them in a new way. Amy does that with all of these different mediums, and she sees them differently and transforms them in a way that's just like,
yeah.
And it'll stop you and make you think.
So I would highly encourage you to follow Amy's work on social media platforms, Instagram and Twitter. She's always remixing art and remixing media. So like Shawn said earlier, like the reason why we started this whole thing is we wanted to talk to people that we admire. We wanted to talk to people that we think have interesting stories to tell. So here's Amy's idea on remix.
If you're going to incorporate remix effectively in a classroom, it's all about the intention behind what the student has produced. And I do think that that is the highest form of learning, is being able to transform something into something new.
So in talking to Amy, it resonated with me because when she was talking about the idea of remixing media being ultimately possibly the highest form of learning, like my head went immediately to remixing music and how challenging it is to remix music. And if you can effectively create a remix of a song, like it's pretty powerful stuff that you're executing. Amy's taken it from the perspective, and she even said things like, why not have a student write a haiku as their demonstration of an understanding of any topic you might be exploring? Or why not have students remix historical pieces of art, adding new layers of media on top of it to show new meaning out of that piece of art? So this idea of incorporating remix, I don't think I've seen it happening much in schools, and Amy presented this like phenomenal argument on why remix should be a part of education. It ties nicely with Martin's idea. You're not losing anything if you incorporate this kind of like new perspective of what is the kind of work kids should be doing. What I also thought was interesting is like she used that word intention, and it's in her book with Dan, like intentional creativity. This intentional use of remixing media, this intentional active creativity, it just really struck me. It stuck with me as like I need to reconsider this idea. Reconsider the role of the kind of work kids are doing, and would maybe untraditional remixing of content be potentially more powerful than a traditional form of assessment or traditional work we might be doing. And I love remixing music, and tying this all together in an educational setting was fantastic. Which leads us to maybe the most unique interview we've had, which was with one of Shawn's former students.
So Taylor Heislip is a student of mine that I had when I was teaching at Front High School in Palatine. It's also the high school I went to. And I constantly ask myself when I meet my students, like, what were you ready for? What did we give you? What did you take away? What do you remember? Right? Because I don't want my classes to be throwaway. I don't want my classes to be disposable. I want to create experiences that are going to inform the future. And as I was thinking about Amy, the reason Taylor comes after that is because I went out and I wanted to talk to a student for like, what are the skills necessary for you to be successful? Because if remix is the thing, what is doing remix preparing them for? So it's taking and transforming situations with a unique personal eye. And I remember Taylor because she was a student that I talked to quite a bit in high school. She'd gone out. I knew that she had gotten a job. She's a social media director for a Fortune 200 company. She works at a company that has 200,000 employees around the world. She manages their social media accounts. And when I was teaching her, there was no social media to say except for like Facebook. And it was something that the students were on and a few teachers, and we were all afraid. So by talking to Taylor, I want to ask her, like, what did we prepare you for? And what did we leave you completely unprepared to process? In this job field that didn't even exist when I taught you, right? So she talked about this really meaningful experience, and she talked about that she was let go from a job because she didn't feel comfortable going in there and innovating. She was like, what do I do? Like, no, just tell me, what tasks do I complete? Jobs don't do that. They're not like boom, boom, boom. And the tasks that are like that are mechanical, and they're like replaceable. So we talked to her about what she needs in the people that she works with to do her job, and the moment that she kind of came alive with the realization that she had to be her whole self, bring her whole self to work, and she had to feel comfortable diving into problems she didn't understand, and she had to format them. So Taylor's clip is when I asked her, what do you need in a worker? Now that you're hiring this job, what do you actually look for?
I'd like to add to this. In listening to Dr. Howard's keynote this morning and thinking about this clip from Taylor, it like aligns perfectly. So let's give it a listen.
We are looking for skills. We are looking for the correct building blocks to make that beautiful Lego castle. We are not looking for the castle. We're not looking, we don't care about majors really. And we have history majors, we have English majors, we have math majors, science majors. We are just looking for the correct skills.
Right, so Taylor, after that clip, Taylor is a social media professional, and Greg and I met through essentially Twitter, in a community that we've constructed on Twitter. We have communicated largely through that. We have far too many followers we probably deserve on those accounts. But I spent 10 minutes with Taylor, who's been in this field for just a couple of years, and she schooled me on every aspect of communication, how we talk, what people look for, what they value, what images do, and just like that understanding was so instructive and helpful to me, which by the way, if you never get a chance to learn from your students, what an amazing experience that is. But it really taught me about what the workforce should be and what we should be doing to help students. How many unstructured, unorganized, free-range problems do you place before them? How often and how common is that?
Right. So this maybe brings us to like the darker side of some of the episodes we had. We were talking about our colleague Beth, and I think Beth maybe kicked off like the podcast getting like exceptionally dark and maybe a little bit negative for a while. So we interviewed Beth, and then does anyone listen to the work of Audrey Waters and Hacked Education?
When you love educational technology as much as we do, you need someone to anchor you in check, right? You need someone to say, cynically, these are some things that are problems. And for me, that's been a couple of these next steps that are coming up.
Yeah, so we interviewed Audrey, which was like a target immediately, like we have to talk to Audrey, and she was gracious enough to do the interview with us. Audrey's work on Hacked Education is super inspirational because she doesn't just take things as they are with on face value. Like a new tool comes out and it's generally accepted universally by anyone who's into educational technology. And Audrey is always of the mind of like, hold on, wait a second, don't you really see what's going on in the background? Do you see who's producing this tool? Do you see what their values are? Do you see what's like hard-coded into the tool itself? And if you're using this tool, you're pushing those values that are hard-coded into the tool onto your students. Remember this, again, with Dr. Howard this morning when she was talking about how robots can manipulate people? Like the robot can say, that was startling to me when she said, don't turn me off, I don't want to die. And I'm thinking, would I turn the robot off? Like I would. It's like, good night, robot, turn off. But so there's something hard-coded in that robot the same way, like when she's talking about artificial intelligence, and you see the story a year ago about how the artificial intelligence like framework or the bot, whatever you want to call it, they were using, like it became racist. Did anyone see the story that emerged? So the data, that it's using a data set of human writing and human thinking and human behavior and human interaction, so it just models all of that and goes, oh, you guys are all racist, I'll be racist too. So that machine is hard-coded with racism. And Audrey's point was, the tools that you're using are hard-coded with values, and you should pay attention to the values aren't coded in those. One of the things she brought up was this myth of automation. So we use things, like I'm not knocking the tools have value, but the tools have value, but they also have values in them. So we use Kahoot, as a model, we use Kahoot, we use Socratic, we use Google Classroom, we use all these tools, but there's things behind the scenes that we should pay attention to. One of them, Audrey pointed out, if we're going to use these tools that can auto-grade, or we can use these tools to push out work that might not have value, are we stopping there, or are we really reflecting and thinking about it? So no one can put it as eloquently as Audrey did with this clip.
It's really annoying to have to grade stupid assignments. So why wouldn't you want a robot to grade stupid assignments? To me, the question is like, why are we doing stupid assignments? Like, how about we don't make students do dumb tasks?
So I think she's pointing out that, like, because we have this influx of technology, maybe we don't look for, like, the lowest hanging fruit of, look, I can push the workout with a button. Look, the kids can complete it, push a button, it comes back to me. And, like, is it meaningless or meaningful work? Is the technology pushing us in a certain direction because of the capacity of the technology?
So when you're doing work in different areas, have you ever had that experience where, like, two totally unlike ideas lines up and it just falls together? So these two big areas of focus for me are digital citizenship. Right? As a government teacher and a civics education person, I want to look into that. And educational technology has been a huge part of my life. So there was this moment where I realized that I know to have my students look at an article and say, what inherent values bias this article? Maybe don't wreck it, don't take away its worth, but that I have to excavate for those values. But I have not had my students using tools and saying, what values are inherently embedded in a tool like Padlet? Which may not seem like something you need to ask, but you realize there's an algorithm that drives what's happening. Facebook is driven by an algorithm that chooses for you what's important, but also chooses for you what's not important. And it ingrains a moment where at that time certain things were important, and at that time certain things were less important to you, but those things fluctuate. Is it moving and changing with you? And I need to start having my kids evaluating those tools for the embedded values, just like the articles that are embedded values. That's a life skill, not a media skill.
Yeah. Audrey's quote reminds me of a conversation I had years ago with a colleague of mine, Katrina Kennett, who was an English teacher, and she taught right next to me in Plymouth. And she refused to use any tool that would automate any process. Because she was like, if we're going to use Google Drive, you better use it in the capacity as a professional might use it. So I want my kids to know how to organize, how to rename, how to share within their groups, and manage everything. Like, I will not push out work to them. I will not have them push a button and turn it back in. Back then it was Doctopus, if anyone ever used those tools. Silence, I will take it.
If you've ever done it, it's like awe-inspiring.
Yeah, so
how hard that was.
Doctopus was like Google Drive automation before Google said, let us do it, make it easier with Google Classroom. And she's like, I'm not going to use Doctopus because it pushes out the work, it collects the work, it gives me the link, it puts it in the kids' folder. They're not learning how to manipulate the tool. So the value encoded in that tool is one of like passiveness and being subservient to the technology instead of really controlling and manipulating it. And I think Audrey was trying to get at that. She talked about this myth of automation, this great analogy that like we have a dishwasher in our home, but it doesn't mean that we don't have to clean the dishes anymore. It means the work we're doing around the dishes is different, but you're still doing work with regards to dishes. So don't fool yourself that it's gone. So this myth of this machine can make me more efficient, she's like, it's not making you more efficient, you're just doing different work, and this is illusion of efficiency around the technology that you're using. I thought that was really inspiring.
I can give you a perfect example of this. If you've ever used tools online with kids, and you're going to publish something with images, and even young kids want to put together like a movie or some kind of a project. So think about, you have kids who are going to Google looking for images, and you have to explain to them, listen, you can't just use any image you want. So you can teach them how to use like a Google Advanced Search for images, and look for images that are licensed for them to use. But then what happens is tools are like, why can be that simple for them? So I love Adobe Spark. We're doing a session on Adobe Spark tomorrow on how it can be a powerful tool. But in Adobe Spark, at no point when you search images is it telling you, by the way, these images are all searched for you, and you can use them because we've already looked for them based upon their licensing. And unless you as a teacher go and teach them what that process is doing, you're not encoding the value that's in that tool, and you kind of take that experience away from the kid. And there's tool after tool after tool that is doing that now. At some point, we have to pause and say, do you see what's happening around you? Right? It is a little, somebody uses this analogy, it's a little bit based upon like wealth and affluence and such, but the idea that a kid who who has a servant doing things for them doesn't see the inherent value of the work that is being done when it's happening. And therefore, we actually mock that, like, you don't know that the dishes don't just clear themselves, right? And I don't know. I like the idea of that. Sometimes, at some point, you have to break it down so that they know what's transpiring around them.
Yeah, so that leads us to another guest that we had that sometimes I'm looking at people that we've had on the show and I think, like, why would you ever talk to us on our little podcast that we don't know what we're doing? So Will Richardson, through our colleague Beth, agreed to be on the show. And I have 2 quotes from Will, so I might botch this whole thing up right here. I'll play one of the quotes from Will and see if it's the right one.
I don't think anybody disagrees that much of what we do in schools doesn't comport to common sense. But when we start doing things that actually are about common sense, then a whole bunch of people go, wait, it doesn't feel comfortable. So that's the tension that I find really interesting.
I love the ease with which he said, basically, we all know we're doing things that don't make any sense. And he's taking down this path. And like for a second, he says it in such a way, and you're like, wait a second. What?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think we need those people in our lives. I think it's hard to listen to that sometimes. When you're passionate about things, you need someone who's like a check. So it set me to thinking about, like, what are we doing that we know isn't right?
But it aligns with, and I'll play the other quote right now, it aligns with the idea of, like, we give kids the technology, and then we put exceptional roadblocks in front of them to use the technology in ways that are meaningful to them. I was talking with a school administrator this morning, and he's like, hey, we're up to year 5 on our iPad pilot, and we want to do, like, a re-eval and see if the things we value are still supported by the device, if it makes sense. And he's like, we're getting some pushback now, and the kids really like the device, and they like to use it, so we're thinking we should maybe go in another direction. Like, it was interesting to go, like, you pick a device that's resonating with them, they like to do the things that they like to do on the device, therefore, let's find something that's, like, purely academic that they're not going to be drawn to inherently.
Well, like, we see academic rigor as toy. Like, it should be uncomfortable and a little bit awkward, and maybe we should make them struggle a little bit. And I think we could have, like, a whole entire episode on that concept alone.
Yeah, but Will, I mean, to a follow, maybe a less critical quote or a less confrontational quote, Will also had this to say about technology and devices we use in schools.
Anytime we give a kid a device, or anytime we allow a child to use a device in the classroom, it should be in the service of something that they want to learn about, and or create, or connect, I mean, it's about agency, and we have to help kids understand how to use that agency as productively as they possibly can.
So, I mean, if you think about this, it ties really nicely to what Audrey said, like, are we giving kids, and I love how she said it, like, stupid assignments. Of course you want a machine or a robot to grade a stupid assignment, maybe we should consider not doing a stupid assignment. So, of course, you give the kids technology, you want to be able to control them, but maybe we need to consider, like, what's the real value in giving them the technology? I always say, like, what are you implying when you give this to kids? What are you implying when you drop this into a classroom or into a school? And you're implying that you want change, you're implying you want things to look different, and if you don't embrace the change and things looking different, then maybe this is all a colossal waste of time and energy.
See, for me, when I listen to that quote, I think about the idea that we want students doing work that has inherent value. And inherent value extends beyond the initial experience, right? The product that they make should have value in the days, the weeks, and months. I never want to have the experience again where I give an assignment to a kid and they launch it into the garbage as they walk out, right? Or that assignment that they did isn't an effective tool to review for the objectives of the course, so they do some kind of a final assessment. It should be meaningful. It should make sense. And they should have some choices. Like, I love this word agency next, to make sense of how to express that learning and understanding. And in that sense, I think it inspires me to say, yes, this is the way we've done it, but I can shed that. I can do different things that make more sense.
Let's jump right to Eric's clip and not frame it, and then talk about what that conversation in this idea.
Are we creating students who have, in their life, identified purpose, or perhaps their passion and the ability to find opportunity where it doesn't obviously exist? Or are we creating students who are pretty content with just the status quo? They're comfortable with waiting for somebody to tell them what to do.
So Eric Patno is, I sought him out because I knew him from the early days of Ed Camp Chicago when I was an organizer. I walked into a section and everyone was intensely focused and loving the section, and it was just about, like, Twitter. But he believed, he was passionate, his heart was in something. He's the kind of person who just focuses on something he believes in. So in that role, he was asked to leave the classroom and do some work in technology and in business, and he's connected now with a company called Otis. And because Audrey and because Will had said these comments about technology as embedded values, I thought, well, there's got to be some technology that embeds modern, progressive values that I support, and I immediately thought of it. Because he has the platform of Otis is trying to have interoperability between data that we have, so that it isn't data, so that it's like a human look at what a kid needs, so that you can do these kind of projects and look and say, I know what this kid needs. Make it meaningful for kids. So I reached out to him to talk about, like, what are the values that drive you? What are the values that you see in this product that you're doing? To make it maybe not so, I don't want to say dark or nefarious, but embedded value sounds like secret, but he's very open about it. So when you hear him talking to us about he wants schools to move forward, let's remove the problems. Mere infrastructure. If you want to build a big society, you need strong infrastructure or the whole thing will crumble. And we're going to provide a progressive infrastructure for you to look at what's happening in your schools, your classrooms. Provide that to the teachers so that they can trust their professionals and let them make choices.
So does Otis have like a no stupid assignment, like the lock button?
What's funny about that is that they just figured there wasn't a platform for standards-based grading. There wasn't a platform, you probably have a gradebook program. But I'm interested in how you process an assignment that isn't graded, that doesn't work like a regular assignment, where when you enter it, it's done and it shuts down. Right now, you enter the graded assignment and it disappears for most of those things and becomes like an archive. And that's not what he wanted. He wanted the feedback to compile. How do you compile feedback on certain categories for teachers so we can talk to parents and say, no, your kid doesn't have a number in the gradebook. Your kid's not a 72. I don't know what that is, but you can say, here's some meaningful things that your kids are learning. And it really fit with what Martin was doing, because Martin was talking about all the ways he's communicating growth at this new school, and how he needs tools to help do that effectively.
Yeah, so what I think is interesting is this transition to this next idea, and I was super bummed out that I couldn't be on this podcast.
He tried.
Yeah, I was walking through an airport, trying to get on the Zoom call on my phone, and I had a shaky connection at best, and I didn't want to frustrate our guest, who was actually on with his mom as well, because he was a younger student. He was our first kind of teenage guest on the show. So Shawn got connected to Austin via
ISTE 2018.
Yeah, so Austin was a speaker at ISTE. So Shawn reached out to Austin, asked if he would be on the show, and interviewed Austin about his experience and technology. He has a unique teenager perspective, which is exactly what we wanted to gather.
He's a sophisticated perspective for a kid who's 13, and he's been presenting at 2 national educational conferences. Right?
And I thought it was awesome too that his mom was right next to him when we were recording the show.
Yeah, she sat with him. I made sure that I asked and requested his presence with his mom, and that she'd be there. I want you to do that. I want you to chime in if you're comfortable. You can do this together. But the reason I knew about Austin because I had seen that he was presenting the previous year at ISTE in San Antonio, I believe it was, and he's from Texas. Then I saw that he was back. He came and he did an Ignite speech, an Ignite presentation, which is a big deal. That's not an easy gig to get. But I was sitting next to his mom in the audience, and she was anxious and nervous for him. I'm like, what's going on? She said, my son is presenting. I'm like, oh, really? He's teaching? She's like, no, he's 13. I'm like, that's amazing.
So let's hear from Austin.
I know some teachers have their mindset on having to complete assignments like this, one specific. You must do this. However, if teachers that are afraid of empowering students like that, they need to know about the possibilities of what can happen when they give students the choice. Like, a student could create something that's absolutely amazing, and you would have never thought possible.
I love that message is coming from a student. Like, we can talk about, teachers allowing kids to become empowered with technology, but to hear it, maybe that's even like I'm pushing empowerment on you. Like, I promise you can be empowered, you can do anything you want. When a student is saying, like, give us the opportunity to express and give us the opportunity to demonstrate what we're capable of. And I remember listening back to it, he talked about, how other students in his class were able to do some pretty remarkable stuff. It was like surprising to him. And it makes me think, Mary Alice Curran, who does a lot of work with Student Voice online, she was telling me a story once about her son, who was asked to turn in an assignment, like kind of like the shoebox assignment.
Yeah.
And it had to be all created within that shoebox. So instead, he put a QR code inside the shoebox, and when you scan the QR code, it pointed to like his virtual world that he built. It was much bigger than the context of the shoebox. It's like, I don't know if the teacher was happy with that as the deliverable, but it makes me think, like, why would we confine students to one capacity when, like, this could be the capacity?
Right, think about what you're saying, though. Think about the teacher who would be mad that a kid created something so creative, expanding the concept, demonstrates learning, and yet, I would be worried as a parent when you walk out the door, like, compliance. You may not look like you complied when you were super crazy and creative. Like, I put my QR code in that box. My whole lesson is in
There's a little bit of snark involved in it.
Oh, there's a lot of snark involved in it, but still.
But this is also interesting. My daughter, who's in first grade, she came home with the, like, who are you assignment. It was a piece of paper that she's working on some handwriting and drawing a picture. And I said to her a couple days later, it's like, hey, Harps, would you want to, like, shoot a video of who you are? We could, like, maybe show who you are in a different way and things you like to do. And we can, she doesn't know what QR codes are. I don't really expose her to a lot of this stuff. Like, we can put a little code on the paper and someone can hold their phone in front of it, watch a video of you. She's like, no, Dad, that's not the assignment. Which, like,
there's not a checkbox here, right?
But I have to also value her voice because she really likes the process of the work she's doing. She likes to do what she's asked to, but she's also 6, and maybe I can, like, ease her into, like, it's okay, you can express who you are and demonstrate what's possible in other ways, but I also can't force that on her. So I think it's interesting that Austin's like, give us the ability, but maybe we also have to be aware of, like, you can't force kids to do things with technology because you like it. Like, I value that, and there's something embedded in that, but she didn't value that right now, so I can't push it on her.
And my daughter sees school very differently. She was very much focused on going to some very high-level schools. She has mastered school. She mastered school by junior high. She knows exactly when to follow the rules. She's a creative person in her life outside of that, but when she comes to school, she's like, I'm going to stay within the lines because you get slapped when you're outside the lines. Right? And so my son, on the other hand, does not care. And I think he has the concept like, the slap is worth it if he did something kind of cool. Right? And sometimes that yields him getting, like one time we created a video trailer for his book that he did, and it was like so creative. He had Legos on sticks as actors inside of the thing. He had my wife narrating because he thought it was better if it wasn't him. And he, like the teacher held it up as an example. But in the exact same way, freestyle in the exact same way, he gets to see on something else because they're like, no. You don't get to get bendy with my lines that I draw for you. And so it's very interesting to watch him navigate. He's like, this is worth it. I'm doing this. And watching her say, no, I have to follow these rules. So we made it. We kind of got all the way through it. I kind of want to add to Austin. Like, Austin did talk about a project. He loved Minecraft. He made Minecraft the area where he painted. And I think that's extremely unusual. But if you can see the inherent value in the work that a child does in some medium that does not make sense to you, and as soon as he would zoom out, he built an entire city based upon the structure of the sun. And then to close out our episode with him, I'm like, how long ago was that? It's like a year and a half. I'm like, tell me 5 of the structures within a cell and what they do. And he rattled it off. Right? Like, do you still have that world in your Minecraft? I was like, absolutely. I would never get rid of that. You can go run around and sort of, look, I'm playing in the nucleus right now. Like, that's not what happens when you just go drawing. You have to really value that drawing. The experience, interact in new different ways. Like, that's the kind of stuff that inspires me. That's the kind of story I hope to tell in this podcast.
Right, this reminds me of a quote from years ago from one of your sessions, and it was how a student never came back to you later and was like, whoa, Mr. McCusker, that worksheet like transformed everything and changed my life. Like, so inspirational. Thank you.
Okay, would you go to a workshop a conference session that was like transforming student lives with worksheets?
Right. So, we do have to cut. So we made it through the first ever recording in front of live people doing our podcast. Totally new process. So one, we want to thank you for listening. If you want to listen to any more episodes, you can follow us on social media at So We've Been Thinking. You can go to SoWe'veBeenThinking.com. Whatever app you like to listen to podcasts, whether it's Spotify or Apple Music or Google, where no one's listening to our podcast right now. It's all Apple and Spotify. You can search for So We've Been Thinking, subscribe to the podcast, and I think once the conference kind of ramps down, we're going to start ramping the episodes back up.
Yep. If you're interested in us talking to someone that inspires you, you have a personal hero that you think deserves some credit and wants to be part of it, or a story in your classroom, tweet that to us on It's So Even Think on Twitter. And we would be happy to dig in and find out. If you want to reach out, email us. If you want to go to the website, we have a link so you can suggest episodes. And what we'd really like to do is start telling other people's stories and kind of connecting with the things that inspire you to act and do and learn.
Awesome. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. We did it. Okay, can I just say this right now? I feel like we just pulled something off because you're like, it's like, we need another session. We're like, we could do a live podcast recording, and a little bit like, that would be fun. Not like preparing a session, and now we just did it. So I feel like
So we did it, right? So now, what my process, what we typically do, and I like to edit, it's painful, but like I have to go through and edit all of this. I have to cut it, so every time I talk, I cut it. Shawn talks, I cut it. I talk, I cut it. This audio from the soundboard sounds horrific because it's coming through speakers. I would cut that, pull in the original MP3. What it really looks like is something like, here's Will's. Is that it? No, that's not it. We'll do Audrey's. Alright, so here's Audrey's. Let me zoom out. That's what the final episode tends to look like. So like bumper music, background music. This is Audrey's line every time she spoke. That's my line every time I spoke. There's Shawn's line every time he spoke. The reason why I like cut and drag up and down is to like equalize volume levels, because we typically use Zoom to do all of our recording. Is this making sense? Have you like proficient used GarageBand at all? Like, I like to use it on the MacBook. It's just an easy audio editor. The keystrokes of a Command T to split. Like, you just get super fast with Command T and dragging the header back and hitting space bar to go back and listen to it. So that's the normal process. From here, we would do share. I export this out to like my desktop or my downloads file. I back it up in Google Drive. If you'll notice, in here, what I'll typically also do is like name some of these clips. Like that might be like Audrey clip 1. I'll Command C, copy that, go to a new GarageBand project, paste it, and then export that as its own audio clip. So then in Google Drive, I'll have like Audrey raw audio, Audrey episode 11 edited, Audrey clip 1, Audrey clip 2, because then you can do awesome things like this and reuse the media later to make like a culminating show or like a reflection show.
I streamline my process by while you're talking, I take notes as I'm writing, because I need to go back and ask follow-up questions. But also, when they drop some huge thought bomb on you, I have been absolutely speechless when it's my turn to ask a question about 100 times. And so I sit there, I'm like, whoa. And so I write down the things I want to go back to. I highlight places where some kind of a noise glitch happened so that I can speed up the editing process. As soon as I start recording, I start my phone recording, and I keep track of like the time, and I make notes. When it comes to the editing process, I need to be able to go in there and like chop. But I also take out long pauses, because when you're driving in the car, you don't want to be like, for 4.5 seconds when they find their words. And our job, I've actually had some ethical questions about how I cut things, because you alter the context of what you're producing. So I call it a journalistic tendency towards not wanting things to seem so simple and easy, right? And it's been an interesting thought process. I'm going to leave this pause, because this pause is part of the difficulty of this question. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, so the next part of our process here, I talked about this morning, but using Anchor to do all the publishing. So I'm not going to do it now because I want to clean this thing up, and I will do some editing and put in the actual audio clips. But on Anchor, I'm logged in with my Google account to Anchor. I'll go to new episode, got it. What I will do is upload. When that file is done, I'll upload the entire MP3 here, save changes, publish this show out, and then let me go back home. And then what we'll end up with is like episode 15 will be right here, and that'll be, the live recording at the EdTechTeacher Summit. Within Anchor, has anyone seen this tool before, like the back end of Anchor? This is how we publish everything. What's really cool about it is like, my wife actually made that for us, which was awesome. Yeah. So my wife made that for us. We put a little description here, we'll scroll down. This is my favorite part of this. Where can your podcast be heard? Anchor, Apple, Google, Spotify, CastBox, Overcast. No one listens outside of like Apple and Spotify. We're getting some hits there. But now we can take this and like, just as like a nerd, this to me is awesome that you can go to Spotify and find your own podcast. Right next to other stuff I listen to, like Radio Lab and Gary Vaynerchuk and all these other guys. I'm like, oh,
it's right there.
I can like scroll on my phone and go like, that's my podcast.
Can I just tell you, we got our first review within 24 hours of our first thing being broadcast. A student of mine who lives in California is in like movie production, listened to it, and it was like the most on-fire, positive review of that session that you've ever seen, right? That's Apple. So, and that experience that you're reaching out to these people and that they're listening into you, I get like that ability to distribute and connect with people is amazing, right? That's where I'm all.
Robin follows me on Instagram.
Yes, she does. Like she's huge fans of what we're doing. So that ability to put it out there, and I was really intimidated with the idea of like, I don't want to go and register with all of these places where people are going to listen to this. That's impossible. We know how much time we have, and anything beyond that time is going to come into things like staying married and seeing children. All these things that become a huge problem when you're a tech nerd who likes to go in your face. I'm not going to lie from you. Sometimes when the work gets too stressful, I hide within problems in technology. Perhaps you've recognized this in people, right? And so it's really important for me to kind of contain these things, and I want to do something excellent, but be reasonable. And this tool has made that possible. And I would say even 2 years ago, 3 years ago, there was nothing even remotely like this that I felt could remove those obstacles.
Yeah. So we've had a ton of fun doing this podcast. Like I tell Shawn all the time, like it's work, but it feels like the kind of work that you don't feel like you're working when you do it. It's just another cool way to listen to stories. Like I like listening to the medium. I find tremendous value out of listening to other people's ideas, and I wanted to potentially provide a voice. Like it's super rewarding when people say like, oh, I listened to that and that was really helpful. Like I listened to one episode and like that's transformational to me. The way I look at this now is because of the technology where you can run Anchor directly from here, you can run it from your phone. Like I have another goofy one I do called like a Drivecast where I record some ideas on my phone when I'm driving places. Like just record ideas and then publish it later. But you can do all this from your phone. Imagine how powerful it would be if students in your high school history class have a podcast where they're talking about the ideas they're learning, but how it connects to like modern civic engagement or world issues we're dealing with today. And it's like they're talking through these ideas and using a simple tool like this to like interview people and get audio segments, and they can play those back and do a kind of a live show.
Well, and some of the things that we're doing are shutting people down in ways that we don't think about because we just think that's the way it should be. Like when you use text as your medium, you are absolutely silencing a person who cannot produce text. And look, that's a huge number of people. Like we've identified that. And our solution to that is sometimes like, I'm going to super support you while I make you do this one thing that you are not capable of doing. Right? And I think that we can solve that problem. Introverts, extroverts, like the life-changing moment, something I did that I'm super proud of, like I was so skilled at the moment, was an accident. I had a girl in my class who was incredibly quiet, and I had a Venn diagram assignment that they were supposed to complete. Do a Venn diagram. She didn't want to do that. She did a 12-minute, 34-second video on Adam Smith versus Karl Marx. And I said yes to that, even though there was no reason. I'm like, this is not that assignment. Why don't you tone her down and just draw your Venn diagram? Right? But here's a student who could not speak. When I left that school, she couldn't come say goodbye to me because there were other people in the office. So she's in the hallway with tears in her eyes, like, I didn't think I was going to get a chance to say goodbye. Like, wow, that's a very real barrier. But recording in her home and doing a drawing gave her a voice that she wouldn't otherwise have. So maybe this isn't the experience for you. Find the medium that unlocks the ability of that kid to have a voice, put them on a stage and let them share what they have to say, and then you're going to discover, kind of like we do when people tweet back at us, that what you're producing it has value to people. That there's an audience that's thirsty for what you have, the gifts and talents that you have to offer them, and give a kid back. Because if they leave your school with one experience like that, you're going to alter the landscape of what the future can be for them.
Here's Zoom right now. Alright, so this is what we typically do. So I'm running Zoom right now. Yep. You can see like I added Shawn on there. Shawn just jumped in. This is what we did with Carrie when she was on our call. Sometimes we even killed the video just to not have this an issue.
And you should all go listen to Carrie's episode and just listen to it because it's awesome.
We talked about video games. So we record. I'll record this as a file, and then when you're done with the recording, it gives you an MP4, it gives you an MP3. I drag the MP3 in GarageBand and cut it all up. This is free. It gives you a 45-minute window to do your recording, and oftentimes we'll stop and then jump to another link and jump in and finish it off. But this is the process we use. So if I were to end this meeting, right, end meeting for all, and now it's converting this to an audio file for me. Now, there's other way more expensive platforms that you can pay for to use, but this is free. This is the way we can do it. And there is my...
Just this morning I was talking to someone who was really eager to, like, he's sorry he couldn't come, he's doing a presentation right now, and he said to me, I'm really excited about looking into Anchor because it's really exciting to me that podcast with the professional quality that you got. And I was like, what? Professional? And to be able to put something together and do this that people admire and see as a quality product, I don't think I felt like I knew what I was doing until episode 9.
Right. So this was super inspiring as well. Does anyone ever, this is 99% Invisible. Does anyone listen to that podcast? So it's awesome. And Roman Mars did a live recording. So when I saw this a few years ago, someday I was like, someday I'm going to do that. I don't know how, but I'm going to do that.
Today is that day, by the way. Congratulations. By the way, that podcast on flags.
So I muted it, but like he has his script, he has his soundboard, and way more professional mic, and probably using like a mixing console, which we're not using right now, so we try to deal with that. But so he has audio clips that he's queuing up, and the fact that this is a free app that you can record with voice memos, back it up in Google Drive, pull it into the soundboard app, and now you have this thing to go, which is pretty awesome. So that was kind of something that inspired me to even consider doing this kind of work. Now we have this amazing platform of Anchor that does the cross-distribution for you. It takes about a week to when, by the time you record an Anchor, to push, and then they'll send you emails being like, you're on Apple, you're on Google, you're on Spotify.
For all of them,
yeah. And it just keeps pushing it.
What's the fastest one? Some of them are up there pretty quick.
It's pretty quick. And ours did not get approved universally for some reason, so I emailed them and they're like, oh, sorry, we'll fix it. Within a day, everything was pushed out. And Anchor is completely free. They're committed to staying completely free. So what questions do you have or ideas or concerns you have?
So you're using Zoom for all of your recording.
What I tend to do.
Anchor to push it.
Anchor is the distribution platform. Zoom is to get all the raw media. GarageBand is where I do all the editing and chopping. But like sometimes I can't be on a call, so Shawn does the episode. And like he edits the audio. The one tricky thing about Anchor is it only allows for like my Google account is our login. So I'm not giving Shawn my Google credentials. So he just puts the MP3 into Drive. I pull it out of Drive, drag it into Anchor, and then push it out and publish it.
I send a message, it's ready to go, put it up there. I drop in description and what I want the episode title to be. And that can happen.
What's nuts is like I was in a workshop one day and he texted me like, hey, I edited an episode, whatever, and I open my phone, go to Google Drive, you open it in Anchor. It takes a while to process because it's like a 45-minute clip. It pushes, I title it, and I publish it from my phone, which is nuts. Or you can do it from here later. But that's the capacity of that tool.
So my son has a good friend who has anxiety issues but loves music. Music is his therapy. Because of that, he can work in that medium. He can express his emotions not in person but in music. And so he asked me and said he wanted to create a podcast. He got all the stuff. His dad said, and his dad asked me, please help him to just start. So I told him, just go talk about what you love. And he did 4 songs that he felt changed him. He did an entire podcast, uploaded it to Anchor. And he was heartbroken because Apple said no. Because they rejected that episode because he had played entire songs. So, but that's okay because you can't see that as a problem. Because what ended up happening is he came to me, he's like, Mr. Custer, this happened, and I'm on the other ones. Like, I listened to your episode. I was able to access it. People across the country, I'm going to tell people to listen to this. And I got 20 people listening to it over the course of the first 48 hours. He came back and said, how do I get on Apple? I want more. 20 people. It was like epic for him, right? And what happened was, I'm like, you need to know about something called fair use. And I'm going to send you a link, and you're going to read it. And now you'll understand what you can do with other people's music and what you can't. Can you imagine that before he did it, I'm like, let's do a lesson about fair use. It isn't going to happen. So let them hit the roadblock and understand the value of going around, under, or over it. And that's where the learning takes place in these real-world environments.
So we made it. We really appreciate that you guys stayed. And yeah, hopefully you got, whether it's just like the ideas we were talking about or the process or whatever it is, hopefully you're inspired to like start one, bring these ideas back to your school, talk to students, and like maybe make them aware that they can pull this sort of thing off. We made it through day 1, or this is kind of day 1/day 2 of the Boston Summit. Who's coming back tomorrow? Who'll be back tomorrow? Ignite talks in the morning, so make sure you're here for like 8 o'clock. They'll start a little bit after 8 o'clock. We have 4 awesome speakers, and I'm going to bet someone's armed to be our 5th speaker if she says yes. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful afternoon. afternoon. We will hang out if you have questions or you want to chat. Otherwise, thanks for coming and enjoy Boston.
Thank you for coming.
Good luck tonight.
Thank you so much.
I'm gonna go crawl in a hole.
Right. Disappear. Got it.
See you later.
Have a good one. Take care.